Welcome to Show-Off Showdown! In this series, the fighters are called Show-Offs, and this is the series for the Show-Off Showdown! Now let's meet the Show-Offs for tonight's showdown, shall we? Tonight, we have a battle of the ferocious Fishy warriors, Gill Grunt versus Undyne! That's right, we finally have an Undertale character in Show-Off Showdown, and it's not Sans. Thank God. I put links to the analysis on both characters in the description below. Now without further ado, it's time for the Show-Off to Showdown!
Get ready for the next battle.
Uh-oh, better wear hazmat suits, cause here come the Undertale fanboys!
Joking aside, Gill Grunt is our winner, and I'd be happy to explain why. Now, Undyne will offer a decent fight against Gill, but Gill holds an almost complete statistical advantage, which I will now discuss. Let's start off with who's more skilled and experienced. Now, Undyne may actually take the edge in terms of skill, being skilled enough to lead the Royal Guard and having trained with the likes of Asgore since she was a child. Experience is where it gets trickier though. Neither character has a confirmed age nor a confirmed amount of time they spent adventuring. The Skylanders have been around for over 10,000 years, which I'm sure you're all sick of hearing by now. Although that doesn't mean all of them were around for that long, which might be a mistake that I might have made in some of my past Skylanders battles, which I do admit to if that's the case. Anyway, that's kinda like saying humans have millions of years of experience because humans as a whole have existed that long. And there is no direct confirmation that Gill was one of the Skylanders who's been around that long. So, who takes the experience edge? Well, Undyne has been training since her childhood, but Gill has been shown going on many more adventures throughout the comics and games, and was even a member of the Gillman military before he even became a Skylander. The edge could go to either one of them. I'd argue slightly in favor of Gill, but we can call this one a tie to be fair to Undyne since Gill takes many of the other advantages, and it's not like he needs this one. Now let's discuss speed. You may be thinking that this one goes to Undyne. After all, she kept up with Genocide Frisk, who's fast enough to dodge lightning from Vulcan and electricity from Mettaton, right? But there's one big issue with this. In a way, Undyne doesn't really scale to Frisk's speed at all. She doesn't really dodge any of Frisk's attacks, and Frisk was stuck in a single spot, unable to move during the fight, especially with Undyne trapping Frisk's soul in one place. So therefore, Undyne doesn't really have to keep track of Frisk movements, meaning she doesn't scale in that regard either. She is at the very least peak human, and likely much faster since she traveled from her house to Snowdin in a few seconds, which I've heard to be the distance of a mountain, but to say she's lightning speed is a bit of a stretch. Now as for Gill Grunt, he is capable of dodging bullets point blank, as well as lasers, lightning, missiles, etc. And being an elite Skylander, he should definitely be superior to core Skylanders, who some of which can attack with lightning and lasers of their own. Now aside from what we've seen him dodge in-game, Gill Grunt has also shown impressive speed feats in the comics. For example, his jetpack is fast enough to keep up with Flynn's ship, which is fast enough to travel to different areas in Skylands in mere minutes. Keep in mind that Skylands is a world that is made up of tons of floating islands and continents instead of one big solid planet. And the fact that Flynn's ship can travel very far distances between 2 or more areas in Skylands in mere minutes, and Gill Grunt's jetpack was fast enough to keep up with Flynn's ship, should put Gill Grunt's jetpack at least hypersonic, if not massively hypersonic. So even if we did fully scale Undyne to Frisk, it wouldn't really matter as she would be at best equal to Gill. Now let's discuss strength. Undyne is easily able to crack concrete and suplex boulders, meaning her strength should be roughly in the several ton range, more or less. But Gill Grunt is able to top this. Gill Grunt's gun is capable of carrying and firing 3 anchors at once, and a single anchor can weigh about 500 pounds, meaning 3 anchors can weigh up to 1,500 pounds. The Gill's gun can carry at least 3 anchors at once, meaning it should weigh at least 1,500 pounds fully loaded. And not only does Gill carry this gun around like it's nothing, but his gun fires the anchor so hard that all 3 of them shatter upon impact. And believe it or not, this is nowhere near his full potential of physical strength. But that alone tells that he should realistically take the edge here. But what matters more than physical strength is their power. How much force is behind their attacks? While they both lack immeasurable feats of their own that show their limit, but using some scaling, we can get a rough estimate on how powerful both of them are. For Undyne, we could scale her to Sunderplane. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. If we scale Sunderplane to that of a real commercial plane, that would make her and therefore Undyne at least building level, but for a highball, there is a calculation on the Versus Battle Wiki, which may or may not be trustworthy, that puts Sunderplane at a small town level, being able to output kinetic energy equal to 2,023 tons of TNT. Whether or not you think this calculation is legit or not is irrelevant, as we will be giving it to Undyne anyway to give her the benefit of the doubt. Now let's go on to Gill's power. We can scale him to the Titans, who can casually destroy entire towns and cities just by stomping through them, and Gill was able to fight on par with and match their physical strength. While we could argue that Gill Grunt needed to eat the Colossal Colonel in order to, quote-unquote, size him up to the Titan's level, now while the Colossal Colonel did increase the size of Gill Grunt's body, it didn't seem to give him much of a boost of physical strength. So it's likely that Gill Grunt already had the strength to fight off the Titans all along. And to prove this, when Captain Cluck used the exact same Colossal Colonel to grow his chickens a lot bigger and juicier for his fast food restaurant, the Colonel did grow the chickens a lot bigger, but clearly it didn't make them stronger. If anything, it probably made them weaker as they were so big they could barely even move. I think you get what I'm trying to say, right? Anyway, being an elite Skylander, he should be physically superior to other core Skylanders, such as Fist Bump for example, who can create magnitude 8 earthquakes with his bare fists. He should also be superior to the Giants, who could pull and destroy entire islands and face the planetary Malefor. I think it's safe enough to give Gill this edge. Even if we don't factor in Gill Grunt's Eon's elite form, he should still be at least city level via scaling to the Titans and other city level core Skylanders, while Undyne is at the absolute most small town level via scaling to Sunderplane. As for durability, there isn't really much to say that we didn't already cover in the power category. Undyne should be at most small town level, while Gill Grunt should be at least city level, as he was able to tank hits from the Titans as well. Not only that, but Gill Grunt can also withstand the force from the speed of the Hot Streak while completely unprotected. And the Hot Streak is even faster than its rider Spitfire, who can dash across all of Skylands in almost an instant. Not to mention, Gill Grunt has even withstood the gravitational pull of a black hole while standing right next to it. Although it's probably not a legitimate black hole, but it still has a very powerful vacuum-like gravitational pull, as it was slowly but surely sucking up all the water in Skylands. Anyway, Undyne does have her armor, but that might actually work against her in this battle, as Undyne doesn't handle well at high temperatures, especially in her armor, and Gill's gun does fire boiling hot water, meaning he could take advantage of this weakness. Now you're probably wanting me to mention Undyne's strongest form, Undyne the Undying. While that does give her an impressive increase in physical stats, especially durability, as it allows her to survive wounds that would normally kill her, it's actually very unlikely that she would be able to activate the form, or that it would give her much of an advantage. The Undying form is activated when Undyne has enough determination, as she is fighting someone she believes is a threat to her entire world. I have no doubt that Undyne could definitely have enough determination in this fight to activate this form, but it's the second condition that makes it unlikely for this form to appear in this battle. Compare Undyne's encounters with Frisk in the neutral and genocide runs of Undertale. In the true pacifist or neutral run, Undyne didn't see Frisk as a threat to the lives of a lot of monsters, and therefore couldn't activate her Undying form. Only in the genocide run, where Undyne saw Frisk and the lives of many monsters, was Undyne actually able to pull this form off. Now, Undyne hasn't seen Gill murder any innocent monsters, and she wouldn't have any reason to assume he's as much of a threat to the world as Genocide Frisk was. In fact, Gill Grunt is one of the greatest heroes of his world, but even if Undyne doesn't know that, it still really wouldn't matter. So the chances of her activating her Undying form are very slim, and her determination might actually work against her. In the neutral run, where she had the determination to activate the form but not the selfless motivation, she did become temper for a bit, but in the end she just melted and ended up dying. Now, even if she did successfully activate this form, would it change the result? The answer is likely no. Undyne's Undying form is very durable, don't get me wrong. She can take many attacks from Genocide Frisk, who far surpasses almost every other monster in the game, including Sunderplane and many other monsters stronger than her, meaning if we use that calculation from Sunderplane from earlier, Undyne can take many attacks from someone strong enough to one-shot small town level characters. However, there isn't really anything suggesting that this would put Undyne the Undying at city level, which is what level Gill Grunt was at the bare minimum, even without his elite form. Heck, I don't think Gill Grunt even needs his supercharged Reef Ripper vehicle for this battle, otherwise that would be just too much for Undyne to handle. So to recap, while Undyne might hold an edge in skill and spiritual power, and possibly experience, Gill Grunt has pretty much every physical statistical advantage. Undyne is likely small town level at best, while Gill Grunt at bare minimum is city level. Even if we put levels aside for a sec, Undyne's main attacks are basically just throwing spears and minor soul manipulation, while Gill Grunt has a much wider variety of different attacks. Also, Gill's lightning level speed feats and scales are a lot more solid than Frisk's, who is debatable if Undyne even scales to, and Undyne's best form is unlikely to appear in this battle at all. Her determination needed to activate this form would likely backfire and kill her, and even if she did successfully activate it, it would unlikely be able to make a difference in this result. I think I've said enough. So, in the end, the fans are just undying for the Skylanders' repetitive win streak to stop. The winner of this battle is Gill Grunt. Now, I'm sure there will still be some fans complaining, rather if it's about me not using the wanked stats Undyne doesn't have, or the match being unfair due to Undyne's opponent being way too strong for her to handle. Now, if that's the case, then I'll make you guys a small offer. If you want to see Undyne face a much weaker but similar Skylander, such as Punk Shock, which really ought to amp things up, then let me know in the comments below, and we'll see what happens in the future. Although I doubt most of you would want a rematch, considering that this is literally my dozenth Skylanders fight. But you know what? Never mind. Oh, and P.S. I'd like to give a special thanks to the MLG Avocado for scripting this episode. He's done an amazing job, as usual, so if you like what you see, then do yourself a favor and go check out his channel and subscribe.
Next time on Show-Off Showdown!
My name is Shaq Fei Hung. I'm a poor Chinese rickshaw driver from a town called Hung Lo. I made a promise to my dead mentor Ye Ye that I would kill you. Prepare to die.
My fist hungers for justice. That was my fist.
Oh, you got some chutzpah, you redneck schmuck.
Got any ideas for Show-Off Showdown? Then let me know in the comments below, and hopefully, I just might do them. Now stay tuned for the next episode of Show-Off Showdown!